This is the audience for my Family Home Evening TED Talk.
Yep.
I'm going to talk to you guys today about Family Home Evening and a few aspects of it. First, I want you guys to think about a time that in your lives you may have had a Family Home Evening lesson or Family Home Evening time with your family growing up, with your own children, or even as adults. So I want to think about a specific time. It doesn't have to be any specific time, just a good time or bad time experience that you may have had. A few questions to ask. The first one is, how did it go? Was it planned well? Did people participate? Were they engaged in the lesson? Was there even a lesson, or was it just you sitting talking? Was it good, or was it bad? Was it a good experience for you, or was it a bad experience for you? And did it affect the way you thought of FHE and if you were going to do it with your own family or not? The next thing is when should we have Family Home Evening? The Prophet has told us about once a week, and there is this time they specifically suggest Monday nights. So once a week on Monday nights. President Hinckley said, "We have a Family Home Evening program once a week, which is usually Monday nights, across the church, in which parents sit down with their children. They study the scriptures, they talk about family problems, they plan family activities, and things of that kind. I don't hesitate to say if every family in the world practiced that one thing, you'd see a very great difference in the solidarity of the families of the world." So what President Hinckley is saying, that there's many different things you can do during FHE, and that he believes that if everyone does this in the world of families, that it would bring families closer and stronger as families. So the next thing is why. Why should we even have FHE? There's many reasons we should have FHE, but a few that I'll mention is, one, it brings the family closer to each other, and also closer to God. It brings them a time to study the scriptures and things like that. Another reason is that it shows God, and it also helps your family that you're setting time apart from the crazy world that we live in to spend with each other and to study the gospel. Quote is, a child gets his most important religious instruction at home. It is very difficult for Sunday school or any other agency of the church to communicate Christian faith to boys and girls who haven't been exposed to it through family life. So a big impact for children for religious aspects is at home. They may learn it at church, but a big thing for them to even yearn to want to learn more about it is at home and through home. And a big example of that is Family Home Evening. And that's a great example of bringing the church into your home and applying it to your lives. There are a few reasons that people may not hold FHE. A few that I came up with were, one, that there's just too much going on in their lives. Their schedules don't work with each other, and so on. The second one is that if they have young kids, they cannot sit still. They're fidgety, they can't sit through a lesson, or they just don't want to just sit there and listen. Third thing is that people can say that it can be too boring, and that's a chance for you to try and make it not boring. The last thing is that they can't come up with a lesson, and with that excuse of not to hold FHE, there are many ways to come up with lessons. The biggest question is how. How should we have FHE, and how should we prepare an FHE lesson for our families? There's a few things you can do. The first thing is you can start out with opening up with a prayer. And a big thing is you can say it as a parent, and you can also try and have your children say it and practice saying prayers. Another thing you can do is you can come up with lessons online. They have lessons already planned out, and they have suggestions that you could do for lessons. LDS.org is a big one, and there's a bunch of mom blogs that you can find that have lessons prepared for you as well. To help prepare for the lesson, you can use scriptures, you can use ensign talks, conference talks, anything that can help you relate to the gospel and something you can learn about the gospel. Another thing you can do is plan family activities. It's always a fun one for families to be able to plan something they can do together as a family and plan a trip or plan an activity for next weekend they want to do or things like that. Another thing is reading the scriptures together, and that's a big thing as a family. It brings the gospel in and it brings the Holy Ghost in as well. And that spirit is really important to have in the home. So that's a big thing that FHE can bring into your home. Another thing to do is you can sing a song together. You can sing a hymn, you can sing a song from the children's songbook that the kids may know from primary. The last thing is also you can close with a prayer. That helps close the lesson and to prepare for that evening and the next following week. And lastly is you can have a treat. That may be the kids' favorite part. It was always my favorite part when I was a kid, and it helps you to sit through FHE and family home evening to get that treat and you actually listen and whatnot. So this is a picture of my family without the spouses. This is my mom, my dad, my oldest brother, and the middle brother, and me when I was pregnant with my son. While we were growing up, we had a lot of conflict of trying to get time to set time to meet as a family for FHE. And that could have been an easy reason for us to not hold it. But we tried to stick to it every single week, and just about every single Monday we would we'd either have a lesson or we would just read some scriptures and have some thoughts. But the biggest thing is I really liked, and you can also do it in how, is bearing your testimony to your children. That helps them strengthen their own testimony, and when they don't have one, it helps them to gain one of their own. And after our lessons, we'd always go to Thrifty Ice Cream, and that was probably one of our favorite parts because we were always laughing or happy, and it was just a good time with my family. And that's mainly what I remember at FHE, is always being a good time with my family. And there's just a big influence of wanting me, for my own little family, is having FHE so that we can bond together as a family and come closer to Christ together, and not just as me or just me and my husband. So thank you for coming out for my presentation. I hope you all now want to hold FHE in your homes and hopefully know how to as well. Thank you.